Between two loves. A choice that changed Christmas forever. The city outside their window was a glittering beast, all twinkling lights and hurried footsteps muffled by fresh snow. But inside, the air hung thick with the kind of silence that screams. Alex had woken to the ghost of Jordan's warmth beside her, only to find the bed empty, sheets cool as regret. Now, as the first gray light of a December dawn crept through the blinds, Alex gripped the mug tighter, the ceramic burning her palm like the truth she couldn't swallow. "You didn't sleep," Alex said, her voice low, rough from the tears she choked back hours ago. It wasn't a question. Jordan's eyes, green as the Hudson on a stormy day, were rimmed red, shadows pooling beneath like bruises from a fight neither had thrown punches in. Jordan leaned against the counter, arms crossed over her chest as if holding herself together. The kitchen smelled of yesterday's gingerbread, sweet, cloying, a remnant of the holiday baking they'd done laughing, flour dusting their noses like playful snow. But that joy felt like another life now. "I couldn't," she whispered, the words cracking like thin ice underfoot. A distant siren wailed through the streets below, echoing the pull in her chest. Alex set the mug down with a soft clink, the sound sharp in the quiet. She closed the distance in 2 strides, her hands finding Jordan's waist, thumbs tracing the familiar curve of hips that had arched against her in the dark. "Talk to me, Jord. Last night. That call from your mom. It's eating you alive." Her breath was warm against Jordan's temple, carrying the faint mint of her toothpaste, a small anchor in the unraveling. Jordan's laugh was bitter, a huff that stirred the loose strands of hair at her neck. She pulled back just enough to search Alex's face, memorizing the faint scar above her eyebrow from a childhood fall off her abuela's porch swing. "It's Christmas Eve tomorrow, Alex. And she wants me home. In Rochester. With the family. With..." She trailed off, the name unspoken like a curse. Emily. The ex who Jordan had left 2 years ago. The one who'd carved her initials into Jordan's heart with a ring that never made it to her finger. Emily, who was back now, single and sorry, her text lighting up Jordan's phone like fireflies in the night. "Mom says it's tradition. Forgiveness. The whole damn Hallmark script." Alex's jaw tightened, the muscle ticking like a countdown. She was the builder, the one who turned chaos into cornerstones, but this was a foundation cracking under her feet. "Tradition," she echoed, the word tasting like ash. Her hand slid up Jordan's arms, feeling the goosebumps rise under her touch, the shiver that had nothing to do with the chill seeping through the window. "And what about us? 2 years of us. Late nights grading papers while I draft elevations. Mornings like this where your laugh wakes me better than coffee. Is that just disposable for some snow globe family photo?" Jordan's eyes welled, a single tear tracing a path down her cheek, salty and warm. She reached up, cupping Alex's face, her thumb brushing that scar like she could erase the pain it held. "No. God no. You're my home, Alex. The way you hum old Selena songs while you cook eggs, the smell of your cedar cologne that lingers on my pillows. But Emily, she's the past that won't stay buried. And my family, they think I'm still that girl who ran away to the city, chasing dreams instead of a white picket fence. If I don't go, if I don't face it." Her voice broke, a sob catching in her throat like a hook. The hook hit Alex square in the gut. She pulled Jordan close, their foreheads pressing together, breaths mingling in ragged harmony. The radiator hissed softly in the corner, a steamy sigh that mirrored her own. Outside, a car horn blared, impatient as the clock ticking toward a flight Jordan had booked. In a haze of guilt at 2 a.m. Alex's heart pounded, a drumbeat of fear and fire. This was their love, fierce, unscripted, the kind that bloomed in cramped apartments and stolen weekends upstate, where they'd hike trails hand in hand, leaves crunching underfoot like whispered vows. But now it teetered on the edge of a chasm, one choice away from freefall. "I can't lose you," Alex murmured, her lips brushing Jordan's earlobe, the words vibrating like a plea. Jordan's body melted against hers, a soft whimper escaping as their mouths met, desperate, tasting of coffee and salt, tongues dancing in a rhythm born of too many goodbyes unspoken. Hands roamed, fingers tangling in hair, in sweaters seeking skin to ground them. The kiss deepened, a storm of kneed Jordan's nails digging into Alex's back through the fabric, drawing a low groan that echoed off the tiled walls. They broke apart gasping, foreheads still touching, the world narrowing to the space between them. "Then don't go," Alex said, voice fierce, eyes blazing like the city lights they'd watched from rooftops. "Or go but come back to me. Choose us, Jord. Not out of fear but because this—" She pressed a palm over Jordan's racing heart, feeling the thrum match her own. "This is the only tradition worth keeping." Jordan's breath hitched, a shaky inhale that fogged the air between them. She nodded, slow, as if testing the weight of the decision, the snow outside swirling faster now, blanketing the streets in white forgiveness. But deep down they both knew the real storm was just beginning. The flight, the family dinner, the ghost of Emily waiting with open arms and old lies. Christmas was coming, and with it a choice that would rewrite their forever. The cab ride to LaGuardia was a blur of yellow against gray skies, the wipers slapping rhythmically against the windshield like a metronome counting down to heartbreak. Jordan sat pressed against the door, her duffel bag clutched like a shield on her lap, the zipper's teeth biting into her thigh through her jeans. Alex's hand rested on her knee, warm and steady, thumb circling in lazy patterns that sent sparks up her spine, small rebellions against the dread pooling in her stomach. "Text me when you land," Alex said, her voice cutting through the driver's radio, crooning some schmaltzy holiday tune about chestnuts roasting. The words were simple, but laced with the gravel of unshed tears, her dark eyes fixed on the road ahead as if she could will the miles not to stretch. Jordan turned, catching the profile she loved, the strong line of Alex's nose, the way her lips pressed thin when she was holding back a flood. "I will. And I'll call before the turkey's even carved." She forced a smile, but it wobbled, cracking like the thin layer of ice on the East River they crossed bridges ago. The cab smelled of stale coffee from a spilled cup in the back seat and the faint leather of Alex's jacket, scents that twisted the knife deeper. They pulled up to the terminal too soon, the automatic doors whooshing open to spit out harried travelers bundled in scarves and regrets. Alex paid the driver with a distracted swipe of her card, then turned to Jordan, the world fading to just them amid the chaos. "Hey," she said softly, cupping Jordan's chin, tilting it up until their gazes locked. The airport hummed around them, announcements crackling overhead, wheels rumbling on tile, a child's laugh piercing the din like sunlight through clouds. But Alex's thumb traced Jordan's lower lip, gentle as a snowfall. "Remember that night in the Adirondacks? The cabin with the leaky roof, rain drumming like applause while we wrapped up in that quilt Urubuela scent." Jordan's throat tightened, the memory flooding back. The patter of rain on tin, the creak of floorboards under their shifting weight, Alex's whispers hot against her neck promising eternities. "How could I forget? You burned the Esmeraldas, and we laughed until our sides hurt." Her voice was a whisper, thick with the ache of leaving that safety behind. "Exactly." Alex leaned in, their kiss brief but searing, a brush of lips that tasted of peppermint gum and goodbye. "Hold on to that. Not the bullshit waiting upstate. We're real, Jord. Brick and mortar real." She pressed something into Jordan's palm, a small keychain shaped like a tiny blueprint, etched with their initials intertwined. "For your bag. So you carry a piece of home." Jordan's fingers closed around it, the metal cool and solid, grounding her as she slung her bag over her shoulder. "I love you," she said, the words rushing out like a confession, loud enough that a passing businessman shot them a sideways glance. She didn't care. Let the world see. Let it witness the truth her family might never understand. Alex's smile was fierce, a warrior's grin. "Love you more. Now go kick some ghost ass." She stepped back, hands shoved in her pockets, watching as Jordan melted into the crowd, her red coat a beacon until it vanished through security. The flight was turbulent, the plane bucking like a wild horse through pockets of winter air, each jolt mirroring the churn in Jordan's gut. She clutched the keychain, thumb rubbing the etched lines until they warmed, imagining Alex back in Brooklyn, pacing their apartment with a sketchpad, drawing escape routes from the pain. Rochester International was a far cry from JFK's frenzy, quiet, almost welcoming, with tinsel strung across the baggage claim like party streamers at a funeral. Her mom waited there, bundled in a puffy coat, waving with mittened hands, her face lighting up like the approach had erased the 2 years of silence. "Jordan. Oh honey." The hug was fierce, scented with vanilla lotion and the faint mothball whiff of the family home. Margaret Hayes pulled back, eyes scanning her daughter with that mix of pride and worry. "You look tired. Long flight." "Just the usual." Jordan forced lightness into her tone, but her mom's gaze sharpened, picking up the strain like a hawk spotting a limp. They piled into the old Subaru, the engine rumbling to life with a cough, heater blasting warm air that fogged the windows. The drive home wound through snow-dusted suburbs, houses aglow with wreaths and icicle lights, the kind of Norman Rockwell scene that hid cracks beneath the gloss. "Dad's got the tree up, your favorite, that scraggly pine from the lot on Elm. And Emily. She's coming tonight. Early surprise." Margaret's words landed like a sucker punch, casual as discussing pie crust. Jordan's grip tightened on the keychain, the metal biting her palm. Emily. The name tasted sour even after all this time. Emily, with her golden retriever smile and promises that turned to dust. The woman who'd proposed in a sun-dappled park only to bail when Jordan came out to her folks. "Mom, I told you." I know. But she's changed, sweetie. Single now and asking about you. Thought it might heal things." Margaret's voice softened, pleading. The wipers thwacked against flurries, a steady beat underscoring the tension. "Heal." The word mocked Jordan as they pulled into the driveway, the house a beacon of warm light against the encroaching dusk. Inside, the air was thick with cinnamon and pine, Dad's booming laugh greeting them from the living room where he wrestled with tangled lights. Hugs followed, backslapping and cheek kisses, the familiarity wrapping around her like a too-tight sweater, comforting, suffocating. Dinner was pot roast, slow-cooked tenderness that melted on the tongue, but Jordan picked at hers, appetite lost to the knot in her chest. Conversation flowed easy at first, work stories, nephew updates, until the doorbell chimed, clear as a warning bell. Emily stood there, snowflakes melting in her blonde curls, cheeks flushed from the cold, holding a bottle of Merlot like an olive branch. "Jordan." Her voice was soft, laced with that old honey drawl, eyes blue as summer skies locking on with an intensity that made Jordan's skin prickle. The room hushed, all eyes on the reunion scripted in everyone's mind but hers. "Hi," Jordan managed, standing woodenly as Emily pulled her into a hug that lingered too long, the scent of lavender shampoo stirring ghosts. Alex's keychain burned in her pocket like a talisman, a reminder of the life waiting across state lines. As they settled at the table, laughter bubbling tentative around the wine glasses, Jordan felt the pull. Two worlds colliding, two loves clawing for her soul. Christmas Eve loomed, and with it, the choice that could shatter them all. The fire crackled in the hearth, spitting embers like secrets into the dim living room, casting flickering shadows that danced across Emily's face as she leaned forward, elbows on knees, her wine glass dangling forgotten. The clock on the mantel ticked past 9, each second a hammer strike against Jordan's resolve. The family had retreated, Mom to the kitchen clattering dishes, Dad to his armchair with a newspaper rustling like dry leaves, but Emily lingered, her presence a magnetic field Jordan couldn't escape. "You haven't changed," Emily said, her voice a low murmur that cut through the pop of logs. She reached out, fingers brushing Jordan's knee, light as a feather but heavy with intent. The touch ignited memories. Stolen kisses in Emily's dorm room, the rustle of sheets under moonlight, the whisper of forever that had crumbled like ash. Jordan jerked back, the couch springs creaking in protest, her heart slamming against her ribs like a trapped bird. "Everything's changed, Em." The words came out sharper than intended, slicing the air between them. Jordan's hands twisted in her lap, nails digging crescents into palms, the sting a welcome distraction from the lavender haze clouding her mind. Outside, wind howled against the panes, rattling them like bones, while inside, the room smelled of wood smoke and spiced cider, a cozy trap. Emily's laugh was soft, almost sad, her eyes glistening in the firelight. Not you. Still that firecracker, all spark and no quit. Remember how we'd drive to the lake at midnight just to watch the stars? You'd point out constellations, naming them after us. She shifted closer, the cushion dipping, her knee now pressing warm against Jordan's thigh. The proximity was electric, a current Jordan had once craved. Now it buzzed like a live wire threatening to spark. Jordan swallowed hard, throat dry as autumn leaves. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. Alex, probably, a check-in text blooming like hope in the dark. She ignored it, but the vibration lingered, a phantom pulse syncing with her own. That was then. Before. Everything. Before the ring she'd hidden in her jewelry box. Before the family dinner where Emily's hand had slipped from hers under the table. Before the quiet unraveling that left Jordan adrift in a city of strangers. Emily's hand found hers now, lacing fingers with a gentleness that tugged at old seams. I was scared, Jord. Young and stupid, thinking love fit in a box my parents approved. But seeing you tonight, God, you're glowing. The city suits you, but this. She gestured vaguely at the room. The tree twinkling with ornaments from childhood Christmases. This is where you belong. With family. With me. The words landed like snowballs, cold and packing a punch. Jordan pulled her hand free, standing abruptly, the rug muffling her footsteps as she paced to the window. Frost-etched patterns like lace on the glass, blurring the neighborhood into a winter watercolor. Her breath fogged it further, a cloudy veil for the tears pricking her eyes. Belong, she echoed, voice cracking on the edge. A sigh escaped, long and weary, carrying the weight of flights not taken. Nights spent staring at ceilings wondering what if. The fire popped behind her, embers glowing like accusations. Emily rose too, graceful as ever, crossing the space to stand behind her. Arms slipped around Jordan's waist, chin resting on her shoulder, breath warm on her neck. A pose so achingly familiar it stole Jordan's air. I still love you, Emily whispered, lips brushing earlobe, sending unwelcome shivers down Jordan's spine. We could try again. Slow. No pressure. Just us like it was meant to be. Jordan's body tensed, caught in the crossfire of muscle memory and fresh betrayal. The keychain in her pocket dug into her hip. Alex's initials, a brand. She thought of Brooklyn mornings, Alex's coffee-scented kisses, the way she traced Jordan's spine with fingertips rough from drafting tables, murmuring poetry in Spanish that sounded like home. That was love. Messy, alive, unapologetic. Not this polished ghost, all regret and what-ifs wrapped in holiday ribbon. I can't, Jordan said finally, turning in Emily's arms, her voice steady now, forged in the fire of clarity. She met those blue eyes, saw the flicker of hurt, the plea unspoken. Gently, she extricated herself, hands on Emily's shoulders, holding her at arm's length. You broke us, Em. And I rebuilt without you. With someone who sees all of me. The teacher who cries over lesson plans, the girl who dances in the rain, the woman who chooses love over easy. Emily's face crumpled, tears spilling silent as snow. But Jordan felt no triumph, only a hollow ache. The room spun with unsaid goodbyes, the fire dying to embers, casting long shadows that swallowed them whole. Mom poked her head in then, oblivious, cheeks flushed from the stove. Dessert's ready, girls. Apple pie, Jordan's favorite. The normalcy jarred. A record scratch in the symphony of tension. Jordan nodded, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand, the salt stinging like truth. As they filed into the kitchen, laughter forced around the table, plates clinking like fragile truces, Jordan's phone lit up again. This time she glanced. A photo from Alex, their tree half decorated, a note. Saving a spot for you. Hurry back, mi amor. The warmth bloomed in her chest, chasing the chill. But as Emily's foot brushed hers under the table, accidental or not, Jordan knew the night wasn't over. Christmas Eve dawned in hours, and with it, the family brunch where expectations would crest like waves. She slipped away to the guest room later, curling under quilts that smelled of lavender and loss, dialing Alex's number with trembling fingers. The line crackled, then Alex's voice, husky from sleep or worry, Jordan couldn't tell. Jord? You okay? A sob broke free, raw and unbidden, the dam cracking under the weight. I saw her. Talked to her. It's pulling at me, Alex. Like threads unraveling. The words tumbled, punctuated by hitched breaths, the house creaking around her like an old ship in storm. Alex's inhale was sharp, audible even through the miles. Breathe, baby. In through the nose, out like you're blowing out candles on our cake. Her tone was anchor steady, laced with that quiet strength Jordan clung to. You're not unraveling. You're choosing. And whatever you pick, I'll be here, blueprints and all. They talked until Jordan's eyelids drooped, Alex's stories weaving a lifeline. The neighbor's cat that had snuck in again, meowing demands for tuna. The sketch she'd started of their dream house, gabled roof and wraparound porch for lazy Sundays. Laughter crept in, tentative, thawing the ice in Jordan's veins. When she hung up, whispering, I choose you. Into the dark, sleep came, fitful dreams tangled with snow and stars in two paths diverging under a Christmas moon. Morning broke crisp and clear, sunlight glinting off icicles like diamonds on the eaves. The house stirred with the sizzle of bacon, the clatter of mugs, rituals as old as the hills. Jordan descended the stairs, resolve hardening like mortar, only to find Emily at the table, coffee steaming, eyes hopeful as dawn. The battle lines redrawn, the choice sharper than ever, and Christmas waiting to witness the fall. Brunch unfolded like a stage play Jordan hadn't auditioned for. The dining room a theater of lace doilies and silverware that clinked like plot twists. Sunlight streamed through bay windows, gilding the ham on the platter, but the warmth couldn't touch the frost settling in Jordan's bones. She sat across from Emily, who picked at her eggs with a fork that scraped porcelain too loud, each sound a needle prick to the fragile piece. Pass the biscuits, dear? Dad boomed from the head, his mustache twitching with a grin, oblivious to the undercurrent swirling like cream in coffee. Jordan complied, her hand steady despite the tremor threatening her core. The basket warm from the oven, butter melting golden on the crusts. Mom fluttered about, refilling glasses with mimosa fizz that bubbled like suppressed words, her eyes darting between her daughter and the guest with a mix of hope and nerves. Emily caught Jordan's gaze then, holding it across the table, her smile tentative, lips curving like a question. These are amazing, Mrs. Hayes. Just like I remember. The compliment landed soft, but her foot nudged Jordan's under the table again, deliberate this time, a Morse code of longing that sent Jordan's pulse skittering. Yeah, Mom's recipe never fails, Jordan replied, voice even, but her mind raced. Flashbacks to Alex's clumsy attempts at baking, flour explosions that left them giggling on the floor, licking dough from fingers intertwined. The contrast stung, sweet and sharp, like the orange zest in the scones crumbling on her plate. She pushed her chair back slightly, creating space, the legs scraping wood with a groan that echoed her inner turmoil. Conversation veered to safe harbors, work woes, holiday plans, but Emily steered it back, subtle as a current. Jordan, you should tell them about that school play you directed last spring. The kids' faces when the curtain rose. Magic. Her eyes sparkled, recounting details only an intimate would know, painting Jordan as the hero in a narrative that excluded the woman who truly held her heart. Jordan's cheeks warmed, not from flattery but frustration, the air thick with unspoken accusations. She set her fork down with a soft clink, the tines leaving indents in the linen like fingerprints on glass. It was team effort. My co-teacher Alex, she handled the sets, turned cardboard into castles. The name dropped like a stone in still water, ripples spreading. Mom's brow furrowed, Dad paused mid-bite, and Emily's smile faltered, fingers tightening on her stemware. Alex. Emily echoed, the syllables stretched, probing. The room held its breath, the only sound the distant hum of a neighbor's snowblower, grinding away at winter's weight. Jordan met her gaze head-on, chin lifting, the keychain in her pocket a silent ally pressing against her thigh. My partner. The one who builds more than just sets worlds, actually. For us. The admission hung bold and bare, the mimosa's citrus tang suddenly bitter on her tongue. Mom's hand flew to her mouth, a gasp muffled behind fingers scented with dish soap, while Dad cleared his throat, napkin twisting in his lap like a lifeline. The silence stretched, taut as a bowstring, until Emily broke it with a brittle laugh. Partner. Right. Forgot how the city's all about labels now. Her tone dripped condescension, eyes narrowing to slits that hid the hurt flashing beneath. She pushed her plate away, the scrape loud as a door slamming. Guess some things do change. Labels. Jordan's voice rose, edged with fire, the word igniting the powder keg. She stood, chair tipping back with a thud that jolted the table, silverware rattling like aftershocks. This isn't a label, Em. It's my life. My love. Not some footnote in your redemption tour. Her chest heaved, breaths coming short and sharp, the room spinning with the scent of cloves from the ham, cloying now, suffocating. Mom intervened, rising with hands outstretched, peacemaker's plea in her eyes. Girls, please. It's Christmas. Family time. But her voice wavered, the word family, fracturing under the strain, tears welling like dew on petals. Emily bolted then, napkin tossed like a white flag, chair legs screeching as she fled to the foyer. The front door banged open, admitting a gust of icy wind that snuffed candles on the sideboard, flames guttering out in wisps of smoke. Jordan followed, propelled by a mix of fury and pity, boots slipping on the threshold as snow swirled in like uninvited guests. Em, wait! The plea tore from her raw, the cold biting her cheeks like reproach. Emily whirled on the porch, coat half on, blonde hair whipping in the gale, tears freezing on lashes like diamonds of defeat. Why her, Jord? What does this Alex have that I didn't? Emily's voice cracked, carried away on the wind, but the desperation landed solid, a punch to the solar plexus. She stepped closer, hands fisting Jordan's sweater, pulling her into the storm. I could have been your forever. Here with roots. Jordan gripped Emily's wrists, not to hold but to steady, the wool of her mittens rough against skin. Rain from last night's melt mixed with flurries slick underfoot, the porch light haloing them in yellow glow. Roots aren't chains, Em. Alex doesn't clip my wings, she builds the sky for me to fly. The words flowed, cathartic, a exhale long held. She pried Emily's hands free, gentle but firm, stepping back into the doorway's warmth. Go find your happy. But mine's waiting in Brooklyn. Emily's sob was guttural, a sound swallowed by the howl, as she turned and crunched down the steps, vanishing into the wideout like a fading reel. Jordan lingered, breath clouding, the doorframe solid at her back. A threshold crossed. Inside, the family waited, faces etched with questions, but for the first time, Jordan felt the answers solidifying brick by brick. She pulled out her phone, fingers numb but typing fierce. Coming home. Tonight. Love you. The send button glowed, a beacon as she re-entered the fray, ready to mend or sever as needed. Christmas lunch dragged, apologies murmured over cooling coffee, but the air shifted, cracked open, light seeping in. By afternoon, bags packed in haste, hugs exchanged with promises of calls and coffees, Jordan was in another cab, bound for the airport, heart lighter despite the snow-choked roads. The flight delay tested her, hours ticking in the terminal's fluorescent hum, surrounded by cranky travelers and overpriced lattes that tasted of cardboard. She paced, scrolling Alex's texts, encouragements laced with emojis of hearts and planes, each one a stitch mending the tear. When the gate finally called, relief washed over her like warm rain, boarding pass crinkling in her fist. Turbulence hit midway, the plane dipping like a stone skipped on water, seatbelt sign dinging insistent. Jordan gripped the armrest, knuckles white, whispering Alex's name like a mantra. The engines roar a lullaby of return. Landing was a jolt, wheels screeching on tarmac slick with melt, but New York welcomed her back with open arms, horns blaring, lights smudging the night like promises kept. Another cab, this one a yellow Arrow straight to Brooklyn, the driver humming carols off-key, heater blasting away the upstate chill. Jordan watched the skyline rise, Empire State piercing clouds like a needle threading fate, her reflection in the window smiling for the first time that day, freed, fierce. The brownstone loomed, windows aglow, and as the cab idled, she paid with shaking hands, dashing up steps two at a time, key turning in the lock with a click like destiny. The door swung open to a rush of pine and cinnamon. The apartment transformed into a holiday haven. String lights draped like lazy rivers across the ceiling. The tree fully adorned now, ornaments glinting like captured stars. Alex stood in the archway to the living room, silhouetted against the glow. Her hair tousled from running anxious fingers through it, eyes wide and wary in the soft light. She wore Jordan's old college hoodie, sleeves rolled to elbows scarred from paper cuts and passion, feet bare on the rug they'd picked out at that flea market in Queens. Jordan. The name was a breath, a prayer answered, as Alex crossed the space in a heartbeat, pulling her into an embrace that crushed the air from her lungs. Jordan melted, duffel thudding to the floor forgotten, arms wrapping tight around Alex's waist, face buried in the crook of her neck where cedar and home resided. The hug was lifeline, bodies slotting together like puzzle pieces long separated, hearts thundering in syncopated relief. "You're here," Alex murmured, lips moving against Jordan's temple, the words vibrating through her like bass notes. Her hands roamed up Jordan's back, tangling in hair still damp from airport sinks, a low hum escaping as if tasting her return. The apartment enveloped them, radiator hissing approval, a jazz playlist crooning low from the speakers, Ella Fitzgerald's velvet voice wrapping around, "Have yourself a merry little Christmas," like silk. Jordan pulled back just enough to frame Alex's face, thumbs tracing jawlines etched with worry lines smoothed now by wonder. "I chose us," she said, voice thick, eyes searching those deep brown pools flecked with gold like hidden treasures. Tears spilled, hot trails down cheeks flushed from cold, but her smile broke through, radiant as the lights twinkling behind. "Told Emily goodbye. For good. And my family. They'll come around. Or they won't. But this," she pressed her palm over Alex's chest, feeling the steady drum. "This is my forever." Alex's laugh was watery, a chuckle that bubbled up from her toes, shaking them both. She kissed Jordan then, slow and deep, a reclamation, lips parting soft, tongues tracing stories of absence, hands cupping hips to pull flush. The world narrowed to the slide of mouths, the faint salt of tears mingling with the sweetness of relief, breaths hitching in harmony. Jordan's fingers slipped under the hoodie, tracing the warm plane of Alex's stomach, eliciting a shiver that rippled through them both, a gasp swallowed in the kiss. They broke apart panting, foreheads pressed, grins mirroring like reflections in a still pond. "Come see what I did while you were slaying dragons," Alex said, voice husky, laced with mischief. She tugged Jordan's hand, leading her to the tree, where beneath the lowest branches sat a small box wrapped in butcher paper, scribbled with "Open me," in Alex's bold script. Jordan knelt, knees sinking into the carpet soft as forgiveness, fingers trembling as she untied the twine. Inside, a custom ornament, delicate glass etched with a tiny brownstone, their initials intertwined at the base like roots, but etched deeper in fine script, "Our Foundation 2025. Her breath caught a soft "oh" escaping, the ornament cool and fragile in her palm, catching light in prisms that danced across the walls. "It's us," Alex explained, sinking beside her, arm around shoulders, chin on head. "The home we're building. Not just walls but this." She waved vaguely at the mess of them, takeout containers from lonely dinners, sketch pads strewn with half-drawn dreams, the cat they'd adopted last spring batting at tinsel tails. The scent of hot chocolate wafted from the kitchen, marshmallows bobbing lazy, steam curling like invitations. Jordan hung the ornament high on a branch that swayed gentle, the glass chiming soft against pine needles. Turning, she pulled Alex down with her onto the rug, bodies tangling in a heap of limbs and laughter, kisses peppered like snowflakes, forehead, nose, the hollow of throat where pulse fluttered wild. "I want that," Jordan whispered between nips at collarbone, hands mapping familiar territories, eliciting moans that lowed like winter winds. "All of it. The chaos, the quiet. You." The night unfolded in waves, clothes shedding like old skins, skin on skin in the firelight of the tree. Alex's mouth tracing paths down Jordan's body, reverent, hungry, drawing gasps that echoed off walls papered with their shared history. Jordan arched, fingers in dark hair, The rugs weave imprinting patterns on her back like love bites from the earth. They moved together, a symphony of sighs and skin slaps soft, the jazz swelling to crescendo as release crested, shattering them into stardust, remade in the afterglow. Curled later under a throw blanket scratchy from too many washes, mugs steaming in hands, they talked, really talked, words weaving tighter than any thread. Jordan recounted the porch showdown, Emily's tears freezing in the gale, the cab ride where resolution settled like fresh powder. Alex listened, chin on drawn-up knees, eyes never leaving Jordan's face, her own story spilling. The endless sketches to distract from the void, the call to her sister in Chicago venting fears of loss, the midnight walk to the bodega for Jordan's favorite chamomile, brewed and sipped alone under street lamps buzzing like fireflies. Dawn crept in slow, painting the room in pinks and golds, the snow outside hushed now, blanketing the city in quiet complicity. They rose tangled, coffee brewing with gurgles and pops, pancakes sizzling on the griddle. Alex's specialty, edges crisp, syrup pooling golden. Over breakfast, phones silent for once, Jordan felt the shift. Not just survival but thriving roots deepening in Brooklyn soil. But the day held one last echo, a text from Mom tentative. Miss you already. Dad says hi. And we're proud. Call soon. Jordan's thumb hovered then typed. Love you both. Home for New Year's. The send was a bridge extended, fragile but forward. Alex caught her eye over the rim of her mug, steam veiling her smile. Yeah, she asked, hope threading her tone like tinsel. Jordan nodded, leaning across the table to seal it with a kiss, syrup sweet and sure. Yeah, all of us. Christmas morning unfolded lazy, gifts exchanged in whispers, books dog-eared with love notes, a playlist burned to CD of songs that marked their milestones. The city stirred outside, bells tolling distant, but in their brownstone time stretched indulgent, a gift unwrapped slow. As evening fell, stars pricking the velvet sky, they bundled up for a walk. Hands clasped, breaths clouding in tandem, the crunch of snow under boots a duet. Central Park waited, paths lit by lanterns swaying gentle, the reservoir a mirror to the night. There on a bench dusted white, Alex pulled a small velvet pouch from her pocket, heart hammering audible. Planned this for weeks, she confessed, voice low against the hush, fingers fumbling the tie. Inside, 2 rings, simple silver bands etched with coordinates, their first kiss spot, under that willow by the pond. Not a proposal, not yet. Just promise rings. To the choices ahead. The builds, the books, the bed we share. Jordan's yes was a sob laugh, slipping the band on with trembling fingers, the metal cool then warming to her skin like fate. They kissed under the stars, snowflakes kissing lashes, the world a witness to vows etched in winter's ink. The choice had changed Christmas, yes, but not to ruin. To rebirth. 2 loves weighed, one chosen true, forever rewritten in the glow of lights eternal. The days blurred into a post-Christmas haze, the kind where time softens at the edges, wrapping life in the afterglow of revelation. Jordan returned to school the following Monday, her classroom a riot of glitter and glue sticks. 3rd graders hugged sticky with enthusiasm as they clamored for stories of her adventure home. She spun tales sanitized, snow angels and sledding, omitting the heart-wrench, the porch confessions that had carved space for truth. But in quiet moments, grading papers under the hum of fluorescent lights, she'd twist the ring on her finger, the silver catching lamplight like a secret shared, grounding her in the choice that echoed still. Alex dove back into deadlines, her drafting table a battlefield of coffee rings and eraser shavings, blueprints unfurling like maps to futures uncharted. Late nights found her sketching not just buildings but dreams. A tiny house upstate, porch swing for lazy eves, garden plot for Jordan's herbs that always bolted wild. The ring mirrored on her hand became talisman, warding off the doubts that whispered in empty hours. Was it enough? The pull of family, the ghost of Emily. Would they haunt the margins? Their evenings wove them tighter, routines reborn with intention. Dinners cobbled from fridge odds, pasta twirled on forks, wine glasses clinking toasts to us, filled the apartment with garlic sizzle and laughter that bounced off walls like pinballs. One night, mid-January, frost painting windows in fern patterns, Jordan surprised Alex with tickets to a Selena tribute at a hole-in-the-wall in the village, the air thick with maraca shakes and voices belting Como la Flor in throaty harmony. They danced pressed close, hips swaying to bass thumps that vibrated through chests, sweat beading despite the chill seeping under doors, Jordan's head on Alex's shoulder, inhaling the mix of perfume and promise. But echoes lingered, subtle as shadows at noon. A care package arrived from Rochester. Cookies crumbly with walnuts, a note from Mom in looping script. Thinking of you. Doors always open. Jordan read it aloud over breakfast, voice steady, but Alex caught the flicker in her eyes, the old ache surfacing like a bruise pressed tender. Want me to come next time? Alex offered, fork pausing midair. Eggs cooling forgotten. Her tone was casual but eyes earnest, the ring glinting as she reached across the table. Jordan considered, chewing slow, the toast crunching under teeth. Maybe. For New Year's, like I said. She smiled, squeezing Alex's hand, the warmth chasing chill. But first us. Here. The decision settled easy now, a foundation poured solid. New Year's Eve dawned brittle cold. Wind whipping confetti from Times Square rehearsals visible on the TV's flicker. They hosted a small gathering, Alex's sister Elena flying in from Chicago, all boisterous hugs and tales of blizzards past, Jordan's colleague Mia, with her girlfriend bearing bottles of Prosecco that popped like fireworks. The apartment swelled with chatter, laughter layering over the jazz playlist, pizza boxes stacking like Jenga towers, cheese strings pulling long as stories stretched. Midnight neared, the ball drop countdown, a distant roar from the streets below. Revelers' cheers filtering up like champagne bubbles. They spilled onto the fire escape, coats thrown hasty over pajamas, the metal railing icy under palms. Fireworks bloomed overhead, crimson and gold exploding silent from this height, painting faces in bursts of color. Alex pulled Jordan close, backs to the brick warm from the radiator's vent, lips brushing ear. To choices that build empires. Jordan turned, arms looping necks, their kiss timed to the final toll, deep, consuming, tasting of grapes and gunpowder. The city a symphony below. Cheers erupted from the crowd, but theirs was private, a vow renewed in the hush between booms. Elena hooped from the window, snapping a photo that captured it all. Two women entwined, rings flashing like stars, love defiant against the night. The year turned, spring creeping and tentative, crocuses pushing through park mulch, the air shifting from wood smoke to rain-kissed earth. Jordan's family visited in March, Mom and Dad navigating the subway with wide-eyed wonder, Dad's gruff approval thawing over Alex's tamales, spicy and soulful, served on the rooftop with skyline views. Awkward questions bridged to understanding, Mom's hand on Jordan's knee under the table whispering, "She's good for you. Really good." Emily faded to a footnote, a holiday card polite and distant, archived in a drawer with other closed chapters. Summer brought heat waves that turned the brownstone into a sauna, sheets twisting damp in sleep, bodies seeking cool corners. They escaped to the Adirondacks, the cabin rented again, this time with a patched roof, rain a gentle patter on tin as they made love slow, windows open to cricket choruses, skin slick with sweat and sighs. Alex proposed there, on the porch swing creaking lazy, ring slipping on with whispers of "build with me." Jordan's yes was a scream laugh, echoing through pines, sealing forever in the green hush. Fall painted the city gold, leaves carpeting sidewalks like confetti from a wedding unhurried. They married in October, a ceremony small and fierce, Brooklyn courthouse steps under autumn blaze, Elena officiating with tears and quips, Mia snapping photos that captured grins wide as the East River. Vows exchanged simple. "I choose you every dawn." Rings exchanged now gold, engraved with that first kiss coordinate, worn proud against the world's gaze. Winter circled back, Christmas approaching not as reckoning but ritual, their ritual. The brownstone glowed again, tree strung with memories, the blueprint ornament higher now, joined by a tiny schoolhouse for Jordan's dreams, a hard hat for Alex's steel resolve. They baked gingerbread houses that toppled laughing, iced roofs sliding like avalanches, flower dusting noses in white kisses. On Christmas Eve, snow falling soft as blessings, they curled on the couch, fire crackling companion, mugs of cocoa laced with rum warming palms. Jordan traced Alex's ring, voice soft against the quiet. That choice. It didn't just change Christmas. It changed everything. Alex smiled, pulling her closer, lips brushing forehead. For the better. Our better. The clock struck midnight, bells tolling from distant steeples, but their world was complete. Two loves weighed, one eternal, a foundation unshakable. Outside, the city slept under white peace, but inside, their story unfolded endless. Chapters written in touches and truths, a love that chose and in choosing conquered.